gentlemen, this is RJ Eskow speaking, and you are back. This is the Zero Hour, and our next guest is Patrick Hruby, who is, and Patrick, forgive me if I get the name wrong. Of course, when you have a name like Eskow, you're used to people getting it wrong. I collect various pronunciations of my name, but please correct me on that. Patrick writes about sports, among other topics, and he goes at it from an angle I love, which is the cultural and the social, the big picture angle. And according to Patrick's biography, among other things, he's written about the wonderful world of sports conspiracy theories. I love sports conspiracy theories because so many of them are true. And he also wrote about the man, this says, we may have to digress on this if we have time, the man behind the myth of Doc Ellis's LSD no-hitter. And, you know, I mean, if you're a certain age or above, if you remember the 60s, we all pitched no-hitters back then. So I can't believe Doc didn't. Okay, the head-spinning possible murder of Pakistan's national cricket coach, which we could also talk about. But today what we're talking about is what Patrick calls the National Freeloader League, the NFL. Are you with us?
I'm here. That's quite an intro. Thank you.
Well, thank you. We try here on the Zero Hour. Now, two quick questions. Do you prefer Patrick or Pat? And is it Hruby or did I mispronounce it?
Oh, no. Patrick or Pat's fine. And it's Hruby with a silent H. And, you did pretty well. I've heard some very botched variations, so I'm pretty patient with that. No problem.
Well, I figured it was 2 syllables, so that was my clue. Okay, thanks. And I really wanted to talk to you when I saw this piece on the National Freeloader League for a lot of reasons. I mean, of course, a lot of people felt ripped off by that Super Bowl game just because it was frustrating and disappointing and so on. And, I did hear calls that besides playing the drums and singing and dancing, Bruno Mars might have been tapped to quarterback the Broncos in the second half. But that didn't happen, but you really are frustrated with the NFL, and you make a great case, pulling together a lot of data that they are freeloading off the taxpayer. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, yeah, my frustration is that the NFL, in a lot of ways, has adopted the Wall Street business model of privatizing profit and socializing risk. Now, they're not doing it to the extent Wall Street does, but they are doing it. And again, this is a $9 billion+ a year industry. They have money. They're popular. They can afford to pay for the things they need. They don't need taxpayers subsidizing them. They don't need tax handouts. They don't need the lack of oversight we give them when it comes to things like concussions and stuff like that. And here's the thing. In the article, I make this point, they're getting these handouts from us. They're getting over on us. They're getting over us at the state level, at the local level, and even at the federal level. Probably the most egregious thing is that the actual league office in New York, where Roger Goodell is in charge, and they set the rules and they negotiate the TV contracts and all that stuff, they're considered tax-exempt organization thanks to a law passed in the 60s by Congress.
So you're saying now the NFL rakes in about $9 billion a year. You wrote they're hoping, which, as you pointed out, and I love this context, more than the gross domestic product of 53 countries, and it plans to reach $25 billion in the next 15 years or so. But they consider it a nonprofit. Now, when I think of a nonprofit, I think of a charity. I think of cancer cures. I think of feeding the hungry. I don't really think of the NFL. How much did Roger Goodell make last year? Do you know?
He made $29.5 million in a single year, which is definitely nice work if you can get it. And that's way more than the head of, say, the United Way makes. I mean, most of the biggest charities you can think of, the CEO might make $1 million, maybe $1.5 million, and we're talking big international charities here that require, pretty top-flight executive talent. So Roger Goodell is blowing those guys away, and women as well. And the thing is, the league, that $9 billion plus, a lot of that is taxed because it's money the teams are making, it's money they're making through television contracts, ticket sales. But the league office, which runs the league, the money it's taking in is not taxed. So every team in the NFL is paying $6 to $8 million a year in dues to the league office. They're writing that money off on their taxes, and the league office itself is not being taxed on any of that money. And the thing is, it's not they're considered a charity, but they're considered a trade group. They're considered the same as your local chamber of commerce. You know, back in the 60s, Congress had the tax code basically say, you know, if you're a chamber of commerce, if you're a business trade association, you're in the business of promoting like wheat or corn or, you know, business in Scranton, Pennsylvania. You know, we'll give you a tax break. You know, you're a nonprofit. But
in this
the
case,
law, they actually wrote the specific words "and professional football leagues," which is ridiculous.
And they're meanwhile they're handing out money like this money to Goodell and Paul Tagliabue, who is no longer even with the league. In 5 years of retirement, you wrote, was paid $46.4 million, I guess, to not work, which is nice work if you can't get it, I guess.
Exactly.